So in this video we will see how can we actually restore our primary domain controller if we have two domain controllers and one of the primary domain controllers that we have is no longer working. We have no backups and something happened to the operating system and it's no longer working. So in here what we will do is we will use our additional domain controller, and we will make our additional domain controller as a primary domain controller when we don't have the primary domain controller working anymore. So if I click here, you can see that currently if I go to CMD, I say hostname, this is KTSFO DC01. If I try to go into Active Directory, let's see who is the primary domain in our scenario here. So if I right click on Operation Masters, you can see that DC02 is our primary domain controller. So primary domain controller is who? DC02. Which one is DC02? CMD hostname DC02. Alright, this is DC02. DC02, we will power it off. Done. Gone. DC02 is gone. That was our primary domain. So now we don't have any domain controller that is primary. How do we restore our primary domain controller when the primary domain controller is no longer working? So the primary domain controller is no longer working. How do we actually restore our services? Restore our services. So one of the important things to understand is that in whenever you are transferring roles, when the primary domain controller is not available, that is called ceasing. Ceasing. All right, let's learn it. Let's see how can we do it. In order to make the additional domain as a primary domain, you click on Start, go to CMD, and once you are in CMD, you will do what? You will get out of those directories. CD dot dot get you out of directories. So CD Windows. We will go into Windows folder. CD Windows will take us into Windows folder. So if I go to C drive, you see in the C drive I have Windows folder. I am in my CMD. What I'm doing is I am going inside this folder using command line. Okay, so in here we will use NTDsutil. NTDsutil. Once you enter, it will basically take you in the ntdsutil.exe. So now once you are there, you can type rules. Once you type rules, you can see that now I am in Fismo Maintenance. So now we are in our maintenance mode. In here we will type connections, because what are we trying to do is we are trying to connect to the server. We are trying to connect to the server, right? Now we want to connect to a server. And what server is that going to be? That server is going to be KTSFO DC01. Oh, invalid syntax. Invalid syntax. Let me see what is the name. CMD hostname KTSFO DCO KTSFO DC01 dot kt.local. Let me put the full name. Okay. Still invalid syntax. So it is still saying invalid syntax because we have to say connect to server. We have to say connect to server kt acknowledge train sfodc01. Correct. Connected to KTSFO using credential of locally logged on user. So after we are connected, now what we can do is we can say Q. Q is for what? Q means that we are trying to get out of server connection because we are connected now. After we are connected, we go back to Fismo Maintenance. Once we are in the Fismo Maintenance, in here we say cease domain naming master. How many roles we have? 5 roles. So the first one is domain naming master. Okay, SEIZE, domain naming master. Let me see if I am writing correctly. So I will type. Okay, let's start with infrastructure master. Infrastructure master. Okay. Are you sure you want the server KTSFO DC01 to seize the infrastructure master value? It's saying, are you sure you want to do it? Yes. Adding safe transfer of infrastructure master Fismo before seizure. So that is how it is doing it. So once we are done with the infrastructure master role, we will do the rest of it. So you will see that one by one we will do them. You can see it is taking little bit of time because it is doing like an offline transfer. Alright, so you can see that you will see some errors, but those errors are okay. Basically, once it is done, now we will simply go into the other role. So what is the other role? The other role is SEIZE domain naming master. Why is it not working? It's domain naming master. Okay, we will do it at the end. So seize PDC, primary domain controller. Same thing. You will say what? You will say yes to it too. Operation masters. Okay, it's loading because it's doing that thing. So we will wait for this. Alright, so that is done too. The other one is after PDC we have domain naming master. Let's see what a problem is with domain naming master. Okay, so we did the infrastructure, we did the PDC, now we will do RID, the read master. So in order to do the read master, what we will do is we will come back here, and in here we will simply type read master and press yes. Once you do that, it will basically go through the steps again, and it will do the safe transfer of the read master to KTSFO DC01. Okay, so that is done too. Now what is left? Domain naming master. Let me try the domain naming master again. um, C's domain naming master. It is not taking the name. Let's see why. Okay, before we do naming, this domain naming, let's do the schema, and then we will do that at the end, so we know what the problem is. So C is the schema master, and simply select yes. That is done. Caesar not required, because if you remember, this was our schema master, but that's how you do this. That's how you do this using for schema master too. Oh, I think we have to use this C's naming master. There you go. We didn't have to use domain naming master. We had to use naming master. Alright, so didn't require because this was our domain. So that's how you can do seizing when your primary domain is no longer available, you have no backup, you have no other option, and you want to make the other domain controller a primary domain. So once you're done, one other important thing to tell you is never turn on your domain controller again. So this domain you see here, that was my primary domain, right? I should never turn it back on, because if I turn it back on, this is primary, this is now primary, both of them will conflict and you will have a big problem. Alright, so what I will do is I will right click here and I will simply click on remove and click delete all files. That's it, gone. Because if I turn it back on, it will be a problem. One of the other things that you need to do, yeah, so one of the other things that you will do is you will do cleanup, because if you see here, the records for primary domain controller is still here. You see NTDsutil, it's still here, right? It's still here. So we have to do cleanup. If you don't do cleanup, it will still conflict. So that's one other thing that you have to make sure. And in future, you will not be able to use this name if you don't do cleanup. Do a cleanup so that you can use it again as a new server, fresh install server. Okay, so in order to do a cleanup, you can see that my server name was KDSFO-DCO2. I will simply right click on it. Oh, it's not responding. Let's wait for it. Okay, so I will right click on it, and click on delete. Are you sure you want to delete computer name DCO2? Yes. See, you're attempting to delete domain controller without running removal wizard. It's just telling us that without running the wizard to remove it, like without uninstalling it, you're deleting the object. Are you sure? Yes, because we don't have that domain anymore. It's gone. It's offline. Delete this domain controller anyway. It is permanently offline and can no longer be removed using the removal. And then you click on what? Delete. The Active Directory domain controller is global catalog. Do you want to continue this deletion? Yes, because we have another global catalog server already. Yes. Once you click on yes, it will do what? It will delete it permanently. It will do what? It will delete it permanently, so you no longer have it. Once you delete it from there, we will simply do what? Let's let this one finish the job, and then we will do the other cleanups too. So that is done. The next thing that you will do is you will click on Start Administrative Tools. You will click on Active Directory Site and Services. You will click on what? Active Directory Site and Services. Once you click on that, it will basically open another console for Active Directory Site and Services. If you ask me what is Active Directory Site and Services, Active Directory Site and Services is for replication. That is how you replicate. That is how you do all the replications. When you have multiple sites, for example, East, West, Central, Kandahar, Jarak, Gardes. That's how we had all those sites, and they were replicating with each other. The domain controller on each site was replicating with each other. So in here you see when I come in the servers, I still have NTDsutil. I right click on it, and basically in here let it load. I click on delete. Are you sure? Yes, I am sure. Done. So this is step 2. Step 3, you go to DNS, and DNS is what? DNS stands for Domain Naming System, and it resolves IP into the name and name into the IP. So you go here, click on Forward Lookup Zone. In here you see you have NTDsutil. Delete it from here. Done. On the reverse lookup zone we have nothing. That's it. That's how you do it through graphic user interface. If you ask me now, hey, how do we do it through command line? You can also do it through command line. So in order to do it through command line, what you will do is you will go to NTDsutil. Once you are in the NTDsutil, you will do what? You will say metadata cleanup. Once you are in the metadata cleanup, it means you are now cleaning up the metadata. You will click on connections, and once you are done, now you are doing what? You're saying connect to NTSFO DC02. No, connect to server. Sorry, connect to DC01, because DC02 is no longer working. So now it's logged in, right? Once it is logged in, what you will do is you will get out of it. Now you are in metadata cleanup again. Now once you have the connectivity, now you will say select operation target. Select operation target. You will basically going to do what? You will be selecting the different domains. In here you will say list domains. This will show you all the domains, right? Right now you're not seeing you're seeing DC equal KD, DC equal local. So that is only one domain we have, kt.local. How many domains we have? We only have one domain, right? We only have one domain, and the number is 0. So we will say select what? Select domain 0, right? Select domain 0. Once we select it, now what you will do is you can also do list sites. List sites is same as when we went to this console. So when you say list site, it is going to do what? It is going to show all the sites to you. Now when you say list servers in site, list servers inside, it will basically show you all the servers in the site. Right now it is not showing because we already deleted it. If you see, we already deleted it, but that is why it is not showing. But if you see yours, what you will do is you will say select server 1, for example. Once you say select server 1, then you will say remove selected server and press enter. Once you do that, that's it. That's how you do the cleanup through command line. But the graphic is easier. These days we have graphic, and graphic is easier. So you delete it here, you delete it on the DNS, and you also delete it through here. So 3 steps to delete it. So that's how you seize a domain controller when your primary domain controller is no longer available and you have to actually make an additional domain controller as a primary.